Hello, everybody. I hope everyone who listens and cares about entrepreneurship is having a good summer. But summer does not stop entrepreneurs and the economy from changing. And we have found this to be one of the most dramatic economies over the last 50 years. And, every week we like to speak with Mark Furman, member at the law firm of Tarlow, Reed, Hart, and Rodgers for entrepreneurship and the law. Welcome back, Mark.
Hi, Jeffrey. Great to be with you.
Great to be with you too, Mark. There's no shortage of subjects, so I don't know what's on your mind today, but entrepreneurs are spinning.
Well, it's certainly understandable, Jeffrey, given the economic instability in the world. We've got a war going on in Eastern Europe and the Ukraine. We've got supply chain issues that never seem to end. We've got inflation that is just roaring, and the impact on every business is very significant. And, it's a time of to remember, as a client likes to say, the three rules of business: survive, and don't forget the first two rules. So, entrepreneurs have to be nimble. They have to react to changing circumstances. But what's going on now is kind of breathtaking, particularly for people who have not been through down cycles in the past. Despite your youthful appearance, Jeff, I know you're old enough to have been through a number of downturns, going back certainly in real estate crash in the early 90s, the dot-com crash in 2000, the Great Recession of 2008, and here we are today. But for a lot of folks in business, this is their first turn at what happens when things become really difficult. And we've had, I didn't mention COVID, but that's obviously impacted businesses as well. So, this is an important time. There are people are in different economic circumstances and they have different goals. If you're talking about a business, you have, whether it's a family business or not, you may well have an older generation and a younger generation. And certainly COVID has made people rethink how they spend their time, how they spend their money, what's important to them in life. As we see the fragility of life as well as the business challenges. But certainly the goals are different for someone, say, in their 60s or older than someone in their 30s. That can have an impact on businesses because a lot of people of a certain experience level don't want to do what they did for the last 40 years in the same way they've done it for 40 years. They want to rethink, what they want to be when they grow up. Besides what I like to say, not wanting to grow up, but it's been a period of a few years where people are really taking stock of their lives, including their work life, their priorities, how they spend the money, how they want to invest their money, there's a lot of anxiety out there in the business world. There's a lot of anxiety in society in general.
Well, a whole thing sounds problematic to me. If you had a transition plan in place 18 months ago with a family, and supply chain and inflation and valuations and investment accounts have all changed, I would think that plan would be up for questioning from the exiting family member. which would be a question of the remaining family members about the stability of the business. So that's with an operating agreement or a transition plan. And then they're the ones that have no plan, that everything's up for grabs. So, I mean, I think both of them are leading to conflict because expectations are changing daily right now. And people, you're right, of a certain generation, they don't want to do the fight again. They don't want to have a fourth round of recessions that they've been through their whole career. And the one you left off, which I always thought was in some ways the worst, was the one of the early 1980s when we saw inflation rates, and I'll quote too, 18% in the United States, 21% in Canada when I was in Canada, 22%. And that was just detrimental to a lot of companies. So how do you deal with this when there's just so much stress and everybody's sort of running to their corners saying, this is what I need. I'm not sure I care as much about what you need right now.
Well, there's a ton of issues if you're talking about a transition plan, but let me just mention one that I think should be put on the table. If someone's being bought out of an ownership interest in a business, what happens if the downturn in the economy, the downturn in the business makes it so that the people who are continuing to run the business can't make a living? Is the expectation that they're going to not make a living and pay the retired partner money? Because it may well be that the economic arrangement is structured so that the folks who are running the business are able to be adequately compensated while they pay out the retirement monies to the departing owner. But there's got to be some kind of floor that there's an impact on the retiring partner in the event there's not enough money to go around. So, sometimes that is not considered. Well, that can't happen to us, or it never crosses anybody's mind. But that's an example of an issue where people can plan, what's fair in the circumstance, what's fair to the people who are working every day in the business, and what's fair to the departing shareholder, which at the end of the day is dependent on the success of the business to be paid out over time what they hope to get in retirement. And I'm glad you mentioned the rampant inflation that we had in the late 70s and early 80s. And I'll certainly never forget what my mortgage interest was when we were able to buy our first house. It was astounding. But there is a conflict, and people have to sort of work it out. But it's important to talk it through at the beginning and try to anticipate circumstances that can arise because, based upon the experience that we each have, there's a good chance problems are going to arise at some point. So why pretend that there might never be an economic problem with the business? Let's deal with it head on. So, that's just an example of an issue that, you want to deal with in a transition plan. I think no matter what the economy is, but I think, all the problems in the economy right now really bring this issue. You can see how important it is.
Well, I think the key is to try to reestablish what the goals are for everybody and to be working together with your advisors to facilitate a solution that can try to work for everyone, but it has to be very adaptable. You cannot you cannot put a plan in place that's going to be rigid at this particular point of time. You have to be more flexible.
Yes, I mean, I've been in situations where there was an inflexible plan. And so, the company had to say, sorry, we're suspending payments. We can't pay them. And that puts the retiring partner in the position of, it's going to sue he or she going to sue the company, or, it's better to have the plan sort of in place to figure out what's fair to everybody. And, people who do what you do, Jeff, they're dealing with the differing interests of the different generations, we'll call it the different stakeholders in the business, and help work through those potential conflicts to arrive at something that's fair, workable, and that everybody can live with.
Well, it seems to me that the advice I got from my father was quite unique, because his attitude was, be prepared to walk away with less than what you think you need, because walking away is important. And you don't need as much as you used to need if you do walk away. You don't need to live the same life. So his preparation for me was always, be prepared to get out. Don't be prepared for a magic number. If you're waiting for a magic number, you may never leave.
Well, that's a fair point. Words of wisdom.
Well, and he lived pretty good at the end. He didn't live extravagant, but he got to play his golf and do what he wanted to do every day, something you would probably do. So, we do speak with Mark Furman, and that's who we're talking to today at Tarlow, Hart, and Rodgers, Entrepreneurship and the Law. Mark, if someone's looking for your advice and perspective on the transition of their business, how would they find you?
The best way to reach me is by email, mfurman, Furman, at tbhr-law.com.
I know I look forward to the wisdom of Mark Furman every week, and I hope everybody else on Radio Entrepreneurs does too. And I know some others who have been liking your posts every week that we've been putting up, which is nice to see. The same group every week likes to listen to Mark Furman. And we're going to take a break. We'll be right back on Radio Entrepreneurs.